church originated in 1790, people say, well, surely the first Catholic church in Georgia would have been in Augusta or Savannah. But that's actually not true. And the reason is that when Georgia was founded, as the colony grew, they didn't want Catholics. Catholics were not welcome in Georgia. And it wasn't until after the Revolution Georgia became the fourth state, and Georgia adopted a religious tolerant constitution, that Catholics were welcome and open to practice their faith. And so it was about that time the first Catholic diocese in the United States was established in Baltimore, and we, being here in Georgia, were part of that huge diocese. And so Bishop Carroll in Baltimore thought it might be a good idea if we had Catholics go into some of the other states. And so a group of Catholics in Maryland who were coming down here looking for opportunities because the area had a good reputation as good cropland, they moved to Georgia. And they settled in this little area that has come to be known as Locust Grove in what is present-day Toliver County. In the old days was Wilkes County, not far from Washington, Georgia. So they moved here in 1790. It was a group of English and Irish Catholics. They had a Catholic community. They worshiped together, the slaves and then the planters. And so they built, they had their little community. They built a church about 1792 or so, literally nothing but a log cabin. That was the first church. They, as members of the community began to die, they established a graveyard adjacent to the church. Later, in the 1820s or so, they actually built a more formal structure, a wood panel structure, and they came to call that church the Church of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So the community there was quite prosperous, and it came to be known as Locust Grove. And the community at Locust Grove gradually died away. There was a plague. It was like flu or something along that line that killed off some people. And then the railroad was put in about 1850, 2 miles west of Locust Grove. And a little town grew up along the railroad called Sharon, and it was a shipping depot. So ultimately, over time, they made the decision to move the parish and move the church to Sharon from Locust Grove. We're here now today in the old Church of the Purification, the successor to the original church, the original Catholic Church in Georgia. This church is a great example of what can happen where there are no more Catholics around to take care of it. So the Archdiocese policy and the Diocese of Atlanta, when it was established, they looked to the churches, the local parish, to take care of the church. They had to support it. They had to pay for building it and maintaining it. But what happens when your community dies away and there are no more Catholics there? Well, the present-day condition of the Church of the Purification shows what happens, which basically is that slowly over time, it begins to deteriorate. And so we have a wonderful historic structure that tells so many stories of what Catholicism, of the early days of Catholicism in Georgia. But here we are in present day 2014, and the church is just slowly falling apart. It has a leaky roof, it has broken windows. The foundation has slipped some. The floor has a distinct curvature to it. So there are just so many. It doesn't have a bathroom, doesn't have running water, none of that. There are just so many things that are beginning to fall away with time, with the natural course of time. But the good thing about this wonderful old church and this wonderful old parish is that it is of such importance to Catholics all across Georgia and really all across the United States in telling the story of the early Catholic Church in this state. But the whole idea is that given the history of this place, and given how the the Catholic Church has matured in Georgia now. There are over 1 million Catholics in Georgia. And so we need to keep an eye of where we came from and where we started from. And so the idea is that we would establish the church here in Sharon, the Church of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, in conjunction with the old graveyard at Locust Grove, 2 miles to the west, as a Catholic heritage retreat and discernment center. And I will tell you that having just recently, Father Linus, our pastor, said a Mass at the Locust Grove Cemetery, and it's incredibly peaceful, incredibly quiet, and yet so meaningful and so historic. They're among these ancient tombstones of these early Catholic pioneers and founders of the faith here in Georgia. So that's why we feel like it's just so important that this place be saved, that we establish this place to recognize our Catholic heritage and give it a life and a mission going forward. And we really think it'll happen. It's one of those things where I guess you build it and they'll come. But I think as a place that is largely forgotten among Georgia Catholics, I talk to people all the time and they say, well, what is the Church of the Purification? And where is Sharon, Georgia? We've never even heard of this place. And that's why it's important that it be brought back into prominence as the place where we started as a faith here in Georgia.